Good evening, weary traveler, and welcome once more to a tranquil journey through the quiet, sun-drenched corridors of history. As the day's last golden light softly, slowly, and peacefully fades away, retreating beyond the distant horizon, and the modern world outside your window begins its gentle, nightly hush, we extend to you a warm invitation. We encourage you to settle deeply, very deeply, into your most comfortable and secure space. Allow your thoughts to gently and serenely unwind, slowly untangling themselves from the day's persistent concerns. Prepare your mind, calmly and patiently, for a truly immersive, yet profoundly tranquil voyage into a time long past, to a world where life was dictated by the unchanging rhythm of a mighty river, and every single day brought a familiar, predictable, and deeply repetitive toil. Tonight, we will venture far beyond the hurried, often fragmented rhythm of our contemporary existence. We will turn our gaze, with deliberate intention, towards one of the most ancient, most enduring, and most fascinating civilizations in human history, ancient Egypt, specifically. We will explore a side of this grand culture that is rarely depicted in its true, grinding, yet profoundly cyclical reality. Our focus will be on why being an ancient Egyptian farmer was so repetitive, providing a deep dive into the everyday life of the vast majority of its people, those who resided along the fertile, life-giving banks of the majestic Nile River. This is a narrative that seeks to transcend the grand tales of pharaohs, pyramids, and gods. Instead, we will delve into the harsh, often demanding, yet deeply repetitive, and surprisingly uniform routines that governed the lives of millions, bound by the annual, predictable, yet powerful cycle of the inundation. Imagine, for a long, quiet, contemplative moment, a life dictated not by individual ambition, but by the relentless, unceasing demands of the land and the river, a world where the dawn brought not the promise of novelty, but the certainty of endless familiar labor, where every hour, every minute was consumed by a single, repetitive task performed under the intense, unyielding gaze of the desert sun. This was a life of quiet endurance, of profound physical strain, and of an almost hypnotic monotony that, paradoxically, can now serve to lull the modern mind into a state of deep calm. We will explore the subtle sounds of flowing water, the soft rustle of papyrus reeds, the pervasive scent of damp earth and drying mud, and the endless precise movements of human hands, synchronized with ancient agricultural rhythms. This is a story not of heroic conquests or dramatic revelations, but of the silent, persistent grind of daily existence, of the human spirit's quiet resilience in the face of overwhelming natural forces and predictable cycles. It is a narrative woven from threads of physical exhaustion, of repetitive motions, and of the subtle yet ever-present challenges of survival in a world entirely dependent on the whims of a single, powerful river. It is designed to be a gentle lullaby, an invitation for your own mind to find its perfect stillness, allowing the rhythmic, unceasing sounds and detailed sensations of a bygone era to guide you towards a truly restorative rest. So now, as you listen, breathe deeply, very deeply, letting your chest gently rise and fall with each breath. Feel the comforting, soft weight of your blanket surrounding you, wrapping you in a cocoon of warmth and security. Feel the gentle, steady rhythm of your own breath, a quiet anchor in the present moment. And finally, allow your mind to simply drift, too slowly, peacefully, begin its imagined journey into this ancient, agricultural, and profoundly tranquil historical landscape. Let the whispers of tireless labor and the imagined echoes of silent flowing water guide your thoughts serenely and without haste, towards a state of profound stillness, ultimate peace, and a truly restful, dream-filled sleep. Having gently settled ourselves into the contemplation of a bygone era, allowing our minds to slowly drift towards the sun-drenched landscapes of human endeavor, let us now transport our thoughts, calmly and with profound understanding, to the very heart of ancient civilization, to a land shaped entirely by the life-giving embrace of a singular, majestic river, ancient Egypt. We are about to immerse ourselves not in the grand pyramids or the elaborate rituals of pharaohs, but in the gritty, relentless, and profoundly repetitive reality of daily existence for the vast majority of its people. The humble, hardworking Egyptian farmer, whose entire life was an unbroken cycle dictated by the rhythmic, unyielding rise and fall of the mighty Nile. This is a story of sheer endurance, of sensory immersion in a world fundamentally bound to the earth and water, and of the unique kind of weariness that only constant cyclical labor can induce, a weariness so deep it might paradoxically lull your own mind into a profound and dreamless sleep. Imagine, for a long, quiet moment, the very start of such a day, deeply rooted in the predictable patterns of nature. The hour is impossibly early, long before the first hint of golden light has even begun to paint the eastern sky, still shrouded in the deep, cool blue of pre-dawn. You are awakened not by a jarring alarm, but by the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the air. Perhaps the soft chirping of the first birds, or the distant, muffled sound of a neighbor beginning their own quiet preparations. Your small, simple mud brick home, or mud hut, feels cool and dark, its thick walls still holding the night's coolness against the encroaching morning warmth. The air within carries a faint, earthy scent of dried mud, of stored grain, and perhaps a subtle trace of the ever-present river silt. There is no soft bed to linger in. Your sleeping mat, woven from papyrus reeds or palm fibers, lies directly on the packed earth floor, offering only a firm, utilitarian comfort. You rise slowly, stiffly, your muscles already aching from yesterday's relentless toil in the fields. A persistent, low thrum of fatigue already present deep within your limbs. The floor beneath your bare feet is cool, rough earth, its texture familiar against your soles. The process of preparing for the day is quick, efficient, and deeply habitual, devoid of any lingering luxury. There is no running water piped into your dwelling. Instead, you would fill a small, simple clay pot with water from a larger communal jar, brought from the Nile or a nearby canal the previous evening. Imagine splashing the cool, almost lukewarm water onto your face, feeling its bracing coolness awaken your skin. A fleeting moment of freshness, quickly absorbed by the dry, still air. Your hair, coarse and practical, is quickly smoothed. Your clothing is simple, unadorned, reflecting your humble status. A linen kilt for men, perhaps a plain linen dress for women, chosen for its light breathability against the relentless heat of the coming day. Its fabric feels thin, almost translucent, against your skin, a familiar, unchanging sensation that defines your daily attire. The air in the tiny room is still heavy, filled with the quiet, anticipatory hum of the impending workday. There is no time for idle conversation. The silence is profound, broken only by your own soft breathing and the subtle rustle of your worn clothing. Breakfast, a crucial source of energy for the grueling hours ahead, is meager and quickly consumed. It consists primarily of basic, nourishing staples. Perhaps a round of flat, hard bread made from coarse barley or emmer wheat, its texture rough against your tongue, softened with a few sips of simple, unfiltered Nile water. Or perhaps a bowl of thick gruel made from boiled grains, tasting faintly of earth and warmth. The aromas are simple, earthy, utilitarian, reflecting the direct bounty of the land. This meal is not consumed for pleasure, but purely for sustenance, providing the minimal fuel necessary for your body to endure the long, demanding hours ahead. It is consumed swiftly, silently, almost mechanically, a direct reflection of the day's unyielding schedule. There is no lingering, no extended conversation. The focus is entirely on the quick intake of calories, before the sun begins its relentless ascent and the fields call out for your labor. Then comes the walk to the fields, a journey that is often short, yet always imbued with a sense of purpose and connection to the land. Imagine stepping out from your modest home into the pre-dawn stillness of the village. The air outside is cool, crisp, carrying the pervasive, rich scent of damp earth and drying mud, a smell that is deeply familiar, almost comforting. The ground beneath your bare feet is the same fertile dark silt brought by the Nile's annual embrace, its texture soft and yielding. You are not alone. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of other figures, silhouetted against the faint eastern glow, walk with the same determined, weary stride. They are men, women, and even children, all heading towards the same expansive, flat field stretching towards the horizon, bound by the universal rhythm of agricultural life. The sounds of the waking village gradually intensify as you approach the cultivated lands. The distant, rhythmic lowing of oxen, already being yoked for plowing, the gentle bleating of goats, the soft clucking of chickens, and the ever-present, low vibrating hum of the vast unseen river. All these sounds begin to merge, growing louder, more insistent, forming a complex, rural symphony that slowly, inexorably washes over you. Your bare feet make a soft, rhythmic scuffing sound on the damp earth, a quiet counterpoint to the growing chorus of life. The sense of anticipation is not one of excitement, but of resignation, of entering a world where your individual will is subsumed by the overwhelming, ancient demands of the land and the river. Upon finally reaching the expansive, flat field that will be your domain for the day, the true, repetitive toil begins. The ground is dark, rich, a testament to the Nile's generous gift of fertile silt. The air here feels heavy, thick with the earthy scent of the moist soil. Imagine yourself taking your position, a solitary figure in a vast landscape, yet connected to countless others performing the exact same task in the distant fields. The very first task, after the inundation waters have receded and the ground has sufficiently dried, is the arduous preparation of the soil. This involves breaking up the hard sun-baked clods left by the flood and creating furrows for planting. If it is plowing season, you would guide a simple wooden plow, its ancient design almost unchanged for millennia. This plow is pulled by a team of patient, powerful oxen, their massive forms moving with a slow, deliberate strength. Imagine the rhythmic, deep creak of the wooden plow as it cuts through the rich, dark earth, turning over long, even furrows. The sounds are distinct and repetitive. The soft snorting of the oxen, their heavy, methodical breathing, the occasional lowing as they strain, and the steady, pervasive rustle of soil being disturbed. Your hands grip the rough, wooden handles of the plow, feeling the vibrations of the earth as it is turned. Your bare feet sink slightly into the soft, yielding mud, feeling its cool dampness between your toes. This motion is repeated countless times, back and forth, across the seemingly endless field, a ceaseless, precise dance between your body, the animals, and the demanding earth. Your gaze is fixed forward, watching the dark soil slowly, rhythmically, unfold before you, creating a series of parallel lines stretching towards the distant horizon. The physical strain is constant, a deep ache in your back and shoulders, but the rhythm is hypnotic, almost meditative, allowing your mind to drift into a state of quiet focus. Once the furrows are prepared, the next task is the sowing of seeds, another deeply repetitive yet profoundly vital activity. Imagine yourself walking slowly, deliberately, along each newly formed furrow, your bare feet sinking gently into the soft, damp earth. Your hand, holding a small pouch filled with precious barley or emmer wheat seeds, moves with a practiced, rhythmic sweep. You gently scatter the seeds, a small, continuous shower of life falling into the waiting soil. The sound is subtle, the soft rustle of seeds in your hand, the faintest patter as they land on the earth, and the gentle whisper of the breeze. This precise repetitive motion is performed again and again, across the entire field, an endless progression of sowing, each seed a silent promise of future sustenance. The aroma of the raw seeds, earthy and subtly sweet, fills your nostrils, an unchanging part of your sensory world. After the seeds are sown, the meticulous work of irrigation begins, a crucial, constant effort in a land so dependent on controlled water. For many, this meant operating a shadoof, an ancient, elegant, yet physically demanding irrigation device. Imagine approaching the river or a nearby canal, the water cool and flowing gently. The shadoof itself consists of a long, heavy pole, balanced on a pivot, with a bucket at one end and a counterweight at the other. You grasp the pole, feeling the rough texture of the wood beneath your calloused hands. With a slow, rhythmic motion, you dip the bucket into the water, feeling the cool liquid rush in. Then, with a steady physical effort, you pull down on the counterweight, lifting the heavy water-filled bucket up and out of the river. The sounds are distinct and repetitive, the soft splash of the bucket entering and leaving the water, the gentle creak of the wooden pivot, the steady rhythmic whoosh of the pole as it swings through the air. You then pivot the pole, slowly, deliberately, and pour the water into a small, prepared channel, watching it flow gently, steadily, towards the thirsty crops. This motion, dipping, lifting, pivoting, pouring, is repeated countless times, hour after hour, day after day, a ceaseless, physical dance with the life-giving water, ensuring every plant receives its share. The feel of the cool water on your skin as it splashes, the rhythmic exertion of your muscles, the constant visual of the flowing water, all contribute to a profound, almost hypnotic monotony that defines this vital task. As the crops slowly, imperceptibly begin to grow, the farmer's role shifts from intense manual labor to one of constant, watchful waiting and patient tending. Imagine standing quietly in the fields, the intense Egyptian sun beating down upon your head, its heat a constant, pervasive presence. You would spend hours simply observing, looking for signs of disease, for pests, for weeds encroaching upon the precious young plants. The sounds would be subtle, the gentle hum of unseen insects, the distant drone of a beetle, the soft rustle of young papyrus reeds along the distant riverbank. The air would be thick with the scent of sun-baked earth and growing greenery. This quiet, persistent guardianship, day after patient day, through the long, hot months. formed the central rhythm of existence. Protecting the growing crops from pests was another continuous, often monotonous, responsibility. Imagine spending long hours in the heat, watching over the fields, your eyes constantly scanning the horizon and the sky. Swarms of locusts could devastate an entire harvest in minutes, a terrifying, sudden threat. Birds, too, were a constant menace, swooping down to consume precious grain. You might stand for hours, occasionally shouting or waving your arms to scare them away, your voice a lonely echo in the vast fields. Or you might be tasked with setting simple, repetitive traps for small rodents, checking them morning and evening. This vigilant, repetitive watchfulness, often performed in profound silence, under the relentless sun, was another facet of the farmer's unyielding daily life, a quiet battle against the forces of nature. The food, throughout these long, hot days, remains simple and deeply repetitive. Your meals are consumed quickly, efficiently, often in the field itself, in the scant shade of a palm tree or a temporary shelter. It consists of the same basic staples: coarse bread, perhaps some onions or lentils, and water. Imagine the taste, the texture, the simple sustenance, a direct reflection of your physical needs, rather than a moment of pleasure. Every mouthful is fuel, nothing more, consumed with a quiet focus on the next task, the next hour of labor. The only sounds are the gentle rustle of your clothes, the subtle hum of insects, and the distant, ever-present whisper of the Nile. As the crops slowly, inexorably ripen, the field transforms into a sea of golden grain, signaling the arrival of the harvest season, perhaps the most physically demanding period of the year. Imagine the intensity of the sun during this time, its rays beating down with an almost palpable force, warming the very air around you to an almost unbearable heat. The air is thick with the scent of dry straw and ripe grain. The sounds are rhythmic and continuous, the soft, repetitive swish of sickles as they cut through the stalks, the gentle rustle of falling grain, the low murmur of voices, and the steady thud of bundles being gathered and stacked. Your body aches with a profound, pervasive fatigue that never truly dissipates. The work is unceasing, from dawn until dusk, driven by the urgency of gathering the bounty before it spoils or is lost. Finally, after the harvest is complete, the cycle prepares to begin anew with the arrival of the annual inundation, the flooding of the Nile. Imagine the subtle, yet powerful, change in the river's current, the slow, steady rise of its waters, gradually spreading across the fields, submerging the land in a blanket of fertile, life-giving silt. The sounds shift from the dry rustle of harvest to the gentle lapping of water, the soft murmur of the rising flood. This is a time of waiting, of quiet rest, before the waters recede and the land is ready once more for the slow, familiar, and unyielding cycle of planting and growing. This entire existence, from dawn to dusk, year after year, bound to the predictable yet powerful rhythms of the Nile, created a life of profound repetition, of constant physical demands, yet also an underlying sense of connection and purpose. This deep, unchanging rhythm, this endless cycle of nature and labor, will now gently guide your own mind towards a profound and dream-filled sleep, a peaceful surrender to the ancient patterns of existence. Having deeply immersed ourselves in the cyclical, unyielding rhythm of the ancient Egyptian farmer's life, feeling the pervasive sun on the fields, sensing the cool touch of the Nile's life-giving waters, and understanding the profound physical demands of their repetitive, yet essential, toil, let us now, slowly and with a profound shift in perspective, turn our gaze. We are about to step into a vastly different realm within the same ancient civilization, a world where power was not wielded through physical strength on the land, but through the quiet, meticulous mastery of symbols and knowledge. We speak of the ancient Egyptian scribe, and specifically, we will contemplate the extraordinary, yet often understated, life and enduring legacy of one particular figure, a name often associated with the very first pyramid, yet his true impact spanned far beyond monumental stone, rooted in the silent dedication of the written word and profound intellectual discipline. Imagine a life in ancient Egypt that stood in stark contrast to the farmer's existence. While the farmer was bound to the earth, the scribe was bound to the papyrus, to the ink, and to the meticulous craft of writing. For a young boy or girl in ancient Egypt, the path to becoming a scribe was long, arduous, and exclusive, a journey that began very early in life. Very few were chosen for this privileged, yet demanding, education. Imagine a young student, perhaps just a child, sitting patiently in a house of life, the ancient Egyptian equivalent of a school or temple library, a quiet, cool room within a temple. complex its thick stone walls, muffling the sounds of the bustling world outside. The air here would carry the faint, distinct scent of papyrus, of freshly ground pigments, and of the unique earthy aroma of the Nile silt used to create ink. The light, perhaps filtering gently through a high, narrow window, would illuminate the student's small wooden writing board, a simple tool that would become the foundation of their entire future. The initial stages of a scribe's training were profoundly repetitive and seemingly monotonous. Imagine countless hours spent simply copying hieroglyphic symbols, syllable by syllable, word by word, onto practice astraca, discarded pottery shards or limestone flakes, or onto small wooden tablets coated with plaster. The young student would hold a thin reed pen, feeling its light, delicate texture between their fingers, dipping its tip into a small well of black ink made from soot and water, or red ink made from ground ochre used for headings and corrections. The rhythmic scratching of the reed pen on the rough surface of the ostracon, the soft, barely audible whisper as the brush moved across the surface, meticulously forming each hieroglyph, each intricate character, would be the only sound for hours on end. This was not a quick memorization. It was a slow, physical internalization of the script, a patient discipline of the hand and eye. Each stroke had to be precise, each symbol perfectly rendered, for clarity was paramount in ancient Egyptian writing, where a subtle difference in a symbol could change an entire meaning. This relentless repetition instilled unwavering precision, profound patience, and an almost meditative focus. As the student progressed, they would move from copying single symbols to transcribing entire literary texts, religious hymns, administrative documents, and historical records onto papyrus scrolls. Papyrus itself was a marvel of ancient technology, made from the pith of the papyrus plant, sliced into thin strips, laid in crisscross patterns, pressed and dried to form a smooth, flexible writing surface. Imagine the delicate feel of a finished papyrus scroll, its texture slightly fibrous yet remarkably smooth. The act of unrolling a new scroll, preparing the surface, and meticulously ruling lines with a straight edge and a red-inked pen before beginning the slow, deliberate work of copying was a ritual in itself. The air in the scriptorium, a dedicated copying room within the House of Life, would be still, filled with the faint scent of new papyrus and freshly ground pigments. The light, carefully managed, would illuminate the intricate hieroglyphs as they slowly, gracefully, took shape under the scribe's meticulous hand. This demanding work could take months, even years, to complete a single, extensive scroll, requiring an unshakable dedication to quiet perseverance. Now, let us turn our focus to Imhotep, a figure whose very existence remains cloaked in a serene mystery, yet whose historical impact is undeniable. He lived during the 3rd dynasty of ancient Egypt, around 2667 to 2648 BC, serving under King Djoser. Imhotep was not born into royalty or high nobility. His exact origins are obscure, but he rose through the ranks of society not through military prowess or inherited status, but through the quiet, diligent mastery of knowledge and the profound application of his intellect. He was a scribe, yes, but he was also a polymath, a physician, an architect, an engineer, and eventually a vizier, the highest official serving the pharaoh. His journey was a testament to the quiet power of intellect and the disciplined pursuit of wisdom. Imhotep's most tangible, monumental legacy is undoubtedly the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, often considered the world's first stone building of its size and complexity. Before Imhotep, royal tombs were mostly mastabas, flat-topped rectangular structures made of mud brick. Imagine the slow, painstaking process of envisioning something entirely new, something revolutionary. Imhotep, as the chief architect and engineer, meticulously planned this colossal structure. The construction itself was a triumph of quiet, systematic engineering, executed with immense coordinated effort by thousands of laborers. Imagine the immense, rhythmic sound of heavy stone blocks being slowly quarried from distant sites, the dull thud of stone hammers against rock. Then, the slow, ponderous movement of these massive blocks, dragged across the desert sand on sledges pulled by hundreds of men, their grunts and the creak of ropes the only sounds. Imhotep's role was not in the physical lifting, but in the meticulous calculation, the precise measurements, the careful supervision. He would move calmly, deliberately, amidst the immense construction site, his gaze sharp, his mind calculating, overseeing the placement of each immense stone block, ensuring each layer was perfectly aligned, each step precisely formed. The continuous hum of human labor, the rhythmic scrape of stone against stone, the distant shouts of foremen, all blended into a grand, monotonous symphony of construction, a testament to Imhotep's quiet, organizing genius. The pyramid rose slowly, layer by patient layer, over many years, a silent monument to methodical planning and disciplined execution. Beyond his role as a revolutionary architect, Imhotep was also revered as a brilliant physician, often considered by later generations to be the true founder of ancient Egyptian medicine. His medical knowledge was profound, rooted in meticulous observation and careful recording, practices intrinsic to the scribe's craft. Imagine him in a quiet consulting room, examining a patient not with magical incantations, but with calm, logical inquiry. He would observe symptoms carefully, patiently listening to the patient's complaints, feeling their pulse, examining their skin. His diagnoses would be methodical, based on accumulated knowledge and experience. The treatments he prescribed would have involved precise preparations of herbal remedies, applied with careful instructions, or perhaps simple surgical procedures, performed with a quiet, steady hand. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, an ancient medical text believed by many scholars to draw heavily from Imhotep's original work, meticulously details diagnoses, prognoses, and treatments for various injuries, all presented in a systematic, dispassionate, and highly organized manner. This document, filled with precise, almost clinical language, is a silent testament to Imhotep's methodical approach to healing, a quiet, intellectual foundation for medical practice centuries before formal medical schools. As vizier, the highest official under King Djoser, Imhotep's role extended to the quiet, meticulous administration of the entire Egyptian state. This involved countless hours of detailed record-keeping, of organizing resources, of managing vast agricultural outputs, and of overseeing large public works. Imagine him in a spacious, quiet chamber within the palace complex, surrounded by countless papyrus scrolls and clay tablets. His days would be filled with reviewing reports from distant provinces, dictating letters and decrees to his own team of scribes, and meticulously balancing the accounts of the royal treasury. The subtle rustle of papyrus, the soft scratch of reed pens, the occasional murmur of an assistant reading out figures, these would be the dominant sounds of his administrative duties. Every decision, every instruction, was based on accurate, detailed information, meticulously gathered and presented by a vast network of scribes. His authority was expressed not through loudness or dramatic displays, but through the quiet, precise application of knowledge, through meticulously organized systems, and through the power of the written word. This was the silent engine of the vast Egyptian bureaucracy, operating with unwavering efficiency, ensuring the stability and prosperity of the kingdom, all orchestrated by the quiet brilliance of a single mind. The scribes' ultimate influence in ancient Egyptian society lay in their profound connection to knowledge, to order, and to the divine. Scribes were often associated with Thoth, the ibis-headed god of writing, wisdom, magic, and the moon. This connection elevated their mundane task of copying into a sacred, spiritual act. Imagine a scribe pausing from their work, gazing at the moon in the night sky, contemplating the divine source of their craft. The quiet act of writing, of preserving ancient texts, was seen as a way to maintain Marot, the cosmic order and balance. Through their patient, tireless effort, scribes ensured the continuity of religious rituals, the transmission of medical knowledge, the accurate recording of history, and the efficient functioning of the state. They were the silent guardians of Egypt's vast intellectual heritage, ensuring that the voices of the past continued to whisper their wisdom to future generations. Their power was unseen, residing in the quiet authority of knowledge and the precise control of information, a form of lasting influence far beyond the fleeting nature of political might. Imhotep's enduring quiet legacy eventually led to his deification. Long after his death, he was revered not as a god of war or a powerful ruler, but as a god of medicine and healing, and later, as a patron of scribes. Imagine the quiet reverence with which his name was invoked centuries later, his wisdom still celebrated in temples dedicated to healing. His transformation from a historical figure to a divine entity was a testament to the profound, lasting impact of his intellectual and organizational brilliance, a quiet recognition of his immense contributions to human well-being and knowledge. He was remembered for his wisdom, his healing touch, and his ability to bring order and clarity to the complex world, a legacy built, not on the clamor of battlefields, but on the silent dedication of a life lived in profound intellectual pursuit. And as you contemplate the quiet discipline and profound impact of this extraordinary scribe, physician, and architect, may your own mind find a similar stillness, a deep sense of calm, preparing you gently for a truly restful and dream-filled sleep. Having deeply immersed ourselves in the cyclical, unyielding rhythm of the ancient Egyptian farmer's life, feeling the pervasive sun on the fields, sensing the cool touch of the Nile's life-giving waters, and then having contemplated the profound intellectual dedication of a scribe and visionary like Imhotep, whose wisdom shaped monuments and minds, let us now, slowly and with a profound sense of silent wonder, turn our gaze towards a different facet of ancient Egyptian existence. We are about to journey into the quiet, often hidden realm of the afterlife, not through the grand, completed splendor of a pharaoh's tomb, but through the enigmatic whispers emanating from those burial sites that were for reasons often lost to time left unfinished. These unfinished tombs offer a unique, raw, and profoundly insightful glimpse into the meticulous, often interrupted, process of preparing for eternity, and the very human realities behind the monumental effort. Imagine, for a long, quiet moment, a vast, sun-drenched necropolis, like the Valley of the Kings, or the workers' village of Deir el-Medina. Here, the air is dry, still, carrying the faint, subtle scent of ancient dust and sun-baked rock. The silence is immense, broken only by the gentle whisper of the wind through the barren landscape. The completed tombs, their entrances, often grand and imposing, conceal a finished narrative of the deceased's life and their journey into the afterlife, meticulously painted and carved. But scattered among these, and often hidden from plain sight, are the entrances to tombs that were never fully completed, their work suddenly abandoned, leaving behind a silent, frozen tableau of interrupted labor. These are not dramatic ruins, they are places of profound stillness, offering a glimpse into a process that suddenly ceased, leaving behind tantalizing clues about ancient Egyptian beliefs, artistry, and the very human hands that shaped them. The discovery of an unfinished tomb is often a more intimate and revealing experience for an archaeologist than a completed one. A finished tomb, though spectacular, is a polished, final statement, a perfectly crafted narrative designed for eternity. An unfinished tomb, however, is like stepping into a workshop that was abruptly vacated. It retains the raw, untouched marks of its creation. Imagine the archaeologist, moving slowly and deliberately into the cool, dark embrace of such a tomb's entrance. The air inside is still, perhaps carrying the faint, earthy smell of ancient dust and excavated rock. The sounds are minimal, the soft scuff of their boots on the sandy floor, the gentle echo of their own breathing. The light from their lamp or the sun's rays filtered through the entrance illuminates the walls, revealing not polished frescoes but preliminary sketches, guidelines, and the silent, uncorrected marks of the ancient artisans. The process of constructing an ancient Egyptian tomb was a colossal undertaking, unfolding over many years, sometimes even decades. It began with the quiet, laborious work of quarrying. Imagine the rhythmic, dull thud of stone hammers against granite or limestone in a distant quarry, the soft scraping of tools as workers slowly, patiently, cut massive blocks from the living rock. These blocks, once carved, would then be dragged slowly, ponderously, across the desert floor on sledges, pulled by hundreds of men, their grunts and the creak of ropes the only sounds, all under the relentless gaze of the sun. The silence of the quarry was broken only by these sounds of human effort, a monotonous symphony of extraction. Once the blocks reached a tomb site, or if the tomb was carved directly into the bedrock, the work shifted to excavation. Imagine the gangs of workers, often numbering in the dozens, laboring in the suffocating darkness of the underground chamber, illuminated only by the flickering, unsteady light of simple oil lamps that cast dancing shadows on the rough-hewn walls. The air would be thick with fine dust from the chisel blows, and the pervasive smell of hot oil and human sweat. The dominant sounds would be the rhythmic clang of copper or bronze chisels striking rock, the constant, low scrape of shovels clearing debris, and the muffled thud of excavated rock being moved in baskets. This was a relentless, arduous task, demanding immense physical endurance, performed in profound darkness, often for long, unceasing hours. The quiet determination of these laborers, chipping away at the living rock, slowly creating vast, unseen chambers, is a testament to the immense, collective human effort required for such monumental projects. What makes an unfinished tomb so uniquely revealing are the traces left by the artisans and craftsmen. Imagine the walls of a chamber, intended for grand, colorful frescoes, but now revealing the raw, methodical stages of their creation. First, you would see a grid, meticulously laid out in red ochre, a network of straight lines that served as the guiding framework for the artist. Then, overlaid upon this grid, you would see faint preliminary sketches in red, perhaps outlining the figure of a god, a pharaoh, or a scene from daily life. Imagine the careful, steady hand of the master artist, drawing these initial forms with calm precision. In some areas, you might see the beginnings of the final drawing, traced over the red sketch in black ink, its lines more confident, more defined. The silence here is immense, broken only by your own soft breathing and the subtle echoes of your footsteps. Further along the walls, or in an adjacent chamber, you might find the first application of color. Imagine the vibrant, yet subtle, pigments, deep blues from lapis lazuli, bright yellows from orpiment, rich reds from hematite, pure whites from chalk, being carefully mixed on palettes, their earthy aromas blending with the scent of plaster. The artists would apply these colors, layer by painstaking layer, beginning with the background hues, then filling in the larger forms, slowly, meticulously, creating the illusion of a world beyond this one. The faint sound of the brushes, soft hairs caressing the plaster, the gentle whisper of color being applied, these were the sounds of artistry in progress. The abrupt cessation of work means you can often see a half-finished figure, one side painted, the other still. A raw sketch, a frozen moment in the artistic process, revealing the methodical nature of their craft and the suddenness of their departure. Sometimes, the tools of the trade themselves were left behind, silently awaiting a return that never came. Imagine discovering a worn, blunted chisel, lying forgotten on a dusty floor, its handle smooth from countless hours of use, a direct, tangible link to the hand that once wielded it. Or perhaps a small, cracked oil lamp, its wick still black with soot, its last flicker long extinguished, its dim glow having once illuminated the darkness of the tomb. You might find pots of dried pigments, their colors still vibrant beneath layers of dust, waiting to be rehydrated and used. These abandoned tools, these quiet remnants of a sudden interruption, speak volumes about the lives of the ancient Egyptian artisans, their daily routines, and the profound, unexpected changes that could halt their diligent work in an instant, leaving behind a silent, enduring testament to their craft. The reasons for a tomb being left unfinished are as varied and often as mysterious as the tombs themselves. The most common reason, and perhaps the most poignant, was the unexpected death of the tomb owner. In ancient Egypt, a tomb was a personal project, commissioned and decorated during the owner's lifetime. If a pharaoh, a high official, or a wealthy individual died suddenly, perhaps from illness, accident, or even political upheaval, the work on their tomb would immediately cease. The suddenness of death would mean the painstaking construction and decoration would halt, leaving behind a frozen snapshot of the ongoing preparations for eternity. Imagine the profound shift in the tomb workers' lives, from the rhythmic clang of chisels and the quiet brush of paint to the sudden, unsettling silence of abandonment, as their labor was abruptly rendered unnecessary for its intended purpose. Other reasons might include a change in royal favor, a political disgrace that caused the tomb owner to fall from grace, or perhaps a severe economic downturn that made it impossible to fund the continued work. Sometimes, a king might have initiated a tomb early in his reign, only to abandon it later for a new design or a different location, leaving the earlier attempt as a silent, unused testament to a change of plans. Each unfinished tomb, therefore, tells a subtle, unique story of interruption, of plans that never fully materialized, of lives cut short, or of the unpredictable shifts in power and prosperity that could disrupt even the most sacred of undertakings. The profound quiet of these sites is not just the silence of the desert, but the silence of an interrupted narrative, a story that was never fully told, waiting for our quiet contemplation. Deir el-Medina, the village of the tomb builders in the Valley of the Kings, offers an especially intimate glimpse into the lives of the artisans who crafted these elaborate resting places here in the ruins of their homes. Archaeologists have found not only tools but also countless ostraca with notes, sketches, and even records of daily life, revealing their quiet routines. Imagine reading a small note from an artisan complaining about missing his workday due to illness, or a sketch of a new hieroglyph he was practicing. These fragments offer a very human, very relatable perspective on the people behind the monumental works, highlighting their quiet dedication, their skilled hands, and their everyday struggles. The very ordinariness of these small finds, preserved by the dry desert, speaks volumes about the patient, repetitive work that went into creating the grand structures of Egyptian eternity. The atmosphere within these unfinished tombs today is unique and profoundly tranquil. Unlike the more famous bustling sites, these places are often less visited, allowing for a deeper sense of quiet immersion. You walk along ancient pathways, through silent, unadorned chambers, past half-finished frescoes that whisper tales of interrupted artistry. The pervasive feeling is one of immense stillness, a sense of deep contemplation on the transient nature of human ambition and the enduring power of time. The gentle sunlight, filtering through the entrance, illuminates the raw rock and the preliminary sketches, casting long, peaceful shadows. The distant murmur of other visitors, if any, is hushed, their voices instinctively lowered by the weight of history that surrounds them. The soft whisper of the wind, the occasional chirping of cicadas in the summer sun, these are the only sounds that break the profound silence, inviting you to reflect on the lives that once labored here, and on the immense unhurried power of fate. These unfinished tombs, these silent, waiting chambers, serve as a profound and enduring monument, not just to the ancient Egyptians' beliefs in the afterlife, but to the very human process of creation, interruption, and the subtle, persistent whispers that remain long after the work has ceased. They remind us that even in the grandest of civilizations, the plans of mortals are often subject to the unpredictable currents of time and circumstance, leaving behind silent, beautiful mysteries for us to ponder. And as you contemplate these enduring mysteries, these quiet, interrupted stories from the heart of ancient Egypt, may your own mind find a similar stillness, a deep sense of peace as you drift towards a most restful and dream-filled sleep. Having deeply immersed ourselves in the cyclical, unyielding rhythm of the ancient Egyptian farmer's life, experiencing the pervasive sun on the fields and the constant toil dictated by the Nile, and having then contemplated the profound intellectual dedication of a scribe, like Imhotep, whose wisdom shaped both minds and monumental stone and explored the silent, interrupted narratives of unfinished tombs, let us now, slowly and with a profound shift in perspective, turn our gaze. We are about to step into a vastly different yet equally structured and profoundly tranquil realm within ancient Egypt. The daily life of the pharaoh, or a high-ranking nobleman residing within the magnificent sprawling confines of a palace or a grand villa. Their existence, while undeniably opulent and divinely ordained, was paradoxically governed by its own intricate set of daily disciplines and a pervasive, quiet grandeur, a rhythm of structured leisure and ceremonial duties that, in its very description, can invite a profound sense of peace. Imagine, for a long, quiet moment, the gentle awakening within a sprawling Egyptian palace. This awakening is not a sudden jolt, but a slow, luxurious process, a gradual return to consciousness from the depths of a deep, undisturbed sleep, perhaps in a chamber adorned with painted frescoes depicting serene garden scenes or quiet religious rituals. The first hints of dawn would not be heralded by a harsh factory bell or street cries, but by the soft, diffused light filtering delicately through high, narrow slits in the thick mud brick walls or through translucent linen screens, their fine fabric gently diffusing the harsh desert sun into a soft, inviting glow. The air in the spacious bedchamber, often cooled by strategically placed openings or by the evaporation from nearby water basins, would be clean, fresh, carrying the faint, subtle scent of polished wood, of fragrant cedar from large chests, and perhaps the lingering perfume of exotic unguents or delicate lotus blossoms from a vase. The silence of the room would be profound, broken only by your own soft, even breathing and the subtle creak of ancient timbers or the gentle rustle of a finely woven linen sheet as you shift in your comfortable, elaborately carved wooden bed, often adorned with cushions and fine clean fabrics. The process of preparing for the day for a pharaoh or a high nobleman was an elaborate, unhurried ritual, meticulously orchestrated by a retinue of silent, efficient attendants and specialized slaves, each trained for their specific, quiet task. Imagine a personal servant, moving with graceful, almost invisible steps, softly drawing back the linen screens, allowing the full, gentle light of morning to gradually fill the room. Another might quietly bring a large, shallow basin of cool, fresh water from the palace well, often scented with fragrant oils or flower petals, for washing. The gentle splash of water, the cool touch on your skin, would be a refreshing start. The body would be meticulously cleansed, often with fragrant soaps made from natural oils and salts. For a lady, the dressing ritual could be a prolonged, intricate affair. Imagine the soft rustle of multiple layers of fine linen garments, some almost transparent, draped skillfully around her form. Her hair would be meticulously styled, a complex task involving combs, pins, and perhaps the careful application of perfumed cones, performed by an Ankh hairdresser, whose hands moved with practiced precision. Finally, elaborate jewelry of gold, lapis lazuli and carnelian would be carefully placed. Its weight, a gentle presence. Its shine, a quiet gleam. For a gentleman, the ritual involved a meticulous shave, the sharp, rhythmic stroke of a bronze razor, the soothing feel of scented oils. Then came the careful donning of a clean, flowing linen kilt or tunic, often pleated with immense care, and perhaps a ceremonial collar of gold or faience beads. The atmosphere of these dressing chambers would be one of quiet efficiency, of subdued conversation, of meticulous attention to every detail, a calm, unhurried start to a day of structured elegance and divine duty. Breakfast, a light and refined meal, would be a serene affair, often taken in a private dining alcove overlooking a lush palace garden or a tranquil pool. Imagine the delicate clinking of earthenware bowls or simple bronze utensils, the gentle pouring of cool water or sweet fruit juice from elegant carafes. The aromas would be light and pleasant, the subtle, sweet scent of fresh dates or figs, the earthy aroma of freshly baked flatbread, and perhaps the delicate fragrance of honey. The conversation, if any, would be hushed, perhaps discussing the day's primary appointments or ceremonial duties. There would be no hurried rush, no sense of urgency. The meal was a time for calm, personal reflection, for savoring the quiet comforts of a perfectly ordered home. Before the more formal engagements of the day truly began, the discreet movements of the household staff, ensuring every need was anticipated and met with silent grace, would contribute to an unbroken sense of peace, a constant, underlying hum of well-being. Following breakfast, the pharaoh or high nobleman's morning would often transition to the solemn audience or administrative duties. This might take place in a grand throne room, its walls adorned with vivid painted scenes depicting offerings to gods or triumphs. Yet, even in such a majestic setting, the rhythm of administration was often one of quiet, methodical deliberation, not hurried reaction. The pharaoh would receive reports from his vizier, his chief minister, or high-ranking priests, delivered with formal bows and hushed, respectful tones. These reports might detail agricultural yields from distant provinces, the progress of building projects, or petitions from various segments of society. Decisions were made not through shouting or dramatic pronouncements, but through calm, considered thought, often after long periods of silent contemplation, perhaps with the counsel of trusted advisors. Imagine the soft rustle of papyrus scrolls being unrolled, the quiet scratching of a scribe's reed pen as decrees were penned, and the faint, methodical murmuring of data being read aloud by a meticulously trained official. This silent bureaucracy, running with seamless efficiency, was the unseen engine of divine power, a testament to meticulous planning and precise execution, ensuring the eternal order of Egypt. For the pharaoh, a significant part of the day, woven into his administrative duties, involved his sacred religious functions. As the divine king, he was the intermediary between humanity and the gods, and his daily rituals were crucial for maintaining the cosmic order and balance. Imagine the pharaoh moving slowly, deliberately, into a private sanctuary within the palace temple. The air here would be thick with the sweet, pervasive scent of incense, rising in slow, fragrant plumes from burning altars. The sounds would be minimal, the soft shuffling of his sandals on the polished stone floor, the distant muffled chanting of priests in other parts of the temple complex, and perhaps the gentle resonance of a sistrum, a percussive instrument used in sacred rituals shaken with a soft rhythmic jingle. He would perform offerings to the gods, his movements precise, symbolic, each gesture imbued with profound meaning, ensuring the sun's rising, the Nile's flooding, and the prosperity of the land. This solemn, repetitive ritual was not a public spectacle, but a deeply personal, quiet act of devotion and divine responsibility performed in profound, sacred stillness. Leisure for the elite was equally structured and profoundly serene. An afternoon might involve a slow, deliberate stroll through the elaborate palace gardens. Imagine stepping onto a narrow, winding path made of smooth, polished stones or fine gravel, each placed with precise intention to slow your pace, to make you mindful of each step. The path might lead you past perfectly symmetrical pools, their surfaces still and reflective, mirroring the sky above, adorned with blooming lotus flowers, their delicate petals opening to the sun. The air would be filled with the sweet, pervasive scent of exotic blossoms, of aromatic herbs, and the earthy fragrance of damp soil. The only sounds would be the gentle hum of bees, the distant, muffled chirping of unseen birds from the dense foliage, and the soft, almost imperceptible lapping of water against the edges of a pool. These gardens were meticulously maintained by a small army of gardeners, their work quiet and precise, ensuring every plant, every pathway, contributed to an overall atmosphere of perfect, cultivated tranquility, designed to soothe the spirit and elevate the mind. Alternatively, leisure might involve quiet artistic appreciation or listening to music. Imagine settling comfortably onto a plush cushion in a spacious hall, its walls adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting serene scenes of daily life or mythological narratives, the soft, melodic plucking of a lute or a harp, its gentle harmonies filling the air, would be played by a musician seated discreetly in a corner, their movements graceful, their music soothing. Or perhaps, a servant would read aloud from a papyrus scroll, narrating a tale of ancient gods, a heroic epic, or a philosophical text, their voice a calm rhythmic drone, inviting the listener to drift into the stories. The sounds of a small lyre, its strings vibrating softly, the gentle rustle of a scroll being unrolled. These were the sounds of refined entertainment, designed to quiet the mind and offer peaceful contemplation. As evening approached, the pace would subtly shift towards more formal, yet still serene, social engagements, and the main evening meal. The synodus was the most substantial meal of the day, a long, leisurely affair, often lasting for hours, consumed in the grand dining hall or a private banqueting chamber. Imagine reclining comfortably on elaborate dining couches, propped up by soft cushions, as richly prepared dishes were brought in sequence by silent, efficient servants. The aromas would be complex and enticing: roasted fowl or fish, fragrant spices, sweet pastries, and the rich, earthy scent of fine aged wine. The sounds would be subtle, the gentle clinking of bronze utensils against ornate plates, the quiet pouring of wine from elegant amphorae, and the hushed, intellectual conversation among the guests, always polite, always measured. Servants would move with near-perfect silence, serving each course with effortless grace, their bare feet barely audible on the polished stone or tiled floor. This was a time for quiet, intellectual discourse, for enjoying exquisite food in a tranquil, controlled environment, fostering deep thought and calm exchange. After dinner, the palace would slowly prepare for its nocturnal quietude. The oil lamps and torches would be extinguished one by one, leaving only the soft glow of distant moonbeams or the silent shimmer of stars through the open courtyards. The great palace, once filled with the gentle hum of daily activity, would settle into a profound, encompassing silence. The only sounds would be the soft creaking of old timbers as the vast structure responded to the cooling night air, perhaps the distant muffled hoot of an owl from the surrounding desert, or the gentle rhythmic breathing of the sleeping inhabitants within their luxurious chambers. This was the deep, restorative sleep earned through a day of structured elegance, of quiet management, and of serene social interaction. It was a profound rest that prepared the mind and body for the similar, unhurried rhythms of the coming dawn, a world of ordered splendor, far removed from the clamor of the fields or the arduous toil of the common folk. And as you imagine yourself settling into this deep, quiet comfort, feeling the soft embrace of fine linen and listening to the profound stillness of an ancient, elegant Egyptian palace, allow your own mind to find its perfect stillness, drifting gently, peacefully into a deep and truly dream-filled sleep.